My name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And RIIZE has officially made their debut. Applause, applause for them. I am here to watch their Get a Guitar dance performance. So I've already reacted to the Memories and Sirens. So this is really the only one so far that I've seen that is released that I have not reacted to choreographically. So we're gonna be taking a look at a fan cam from when they did their debut earlier today, and I'm pretty pumped about it. Can't wait to watch this with y'all. Let's get into it. Fun. So they're using a funk style, like a lot of times with a guitar, funky guitar is similar to with locking. So that was a nice little pocket they did. This is fun. So they're taking a very different approach than I was expecting whenever we saw them in Siren. I was expecting them to take more of that bad boy aesthetic, but it's very much like a boy crush. Correct me if I'm wrong though, like, that's what it feels like. Eesh! Woo! Oh, I love this choreo. Da-da-da-tar.
If you want something to play with, get a guitar.
If you want something to play with, get a guitar. Yeah, I would say out of all the choreography that we've seen, I think this one is probably my favorite so far out of the three that I've seen from them. Give him some breathers, love that. I will say they could have been a little bit more powerful here. Yeah. They do look a bit muted. It could be because, I don't know if it's their first, probably not. Oh! Ooh! I don't know how I feel about the swim trunks over the jeans, but we're just gonna leave that alone. That's not what I'm looking at. Distance break's a little bit more impactful, which I do appreciate. I will say, if they're performing this live, it makes sense why they're making certain concessions with some of the choreography, like not traveling as far. Like, this is really nice though. Musicality moments, fabulous here. Oh, I love this. Having a little party moments here with my central three into a nice V. Could be an angle. I do wish that these three in the front were lower in order for my back to look more accented while they're hitting those two polyrhythmic moments here. Love the choreography of this though. Yeah, modifying what they do at the beginning of the chorus down here as part of their dance break, which I really liked. Wow, they are tired. They're tired. Yay, they did it. Love it. Man, I would say out of the three, I think this one was my favorite choreography. Let's go ahead, dial it back, take a look. Going at 0.75, so we can really take a look at everything here. First things first. So they're dropping that. So I know this was like their whole debut stage, really big thing. You know, whenever you're with a big four now, it used to be big three, but Hybe, you know. I will say, like, they really do a good job of making their debuts really shine. So I think that RIIZE is definitely set up and is better than a lot of other groups where they have the publicity, they have the marketing. I also know they already had a scandal, but that's not what this video is about. So just the setup here was really nice. I love this little bit right here. So I know we have just a tad, we're gonna use red today. I know they have a tad of the lights here, but just notice that just his usage of traveling up through, this a little musical note, traveling up through the body and creating this kind of bounce forward. A lot of them end up opting for that, which is really nice, which I like. So notice that he travels it. Yeah, just look, with the usage of the hips that they do here, with it pushing the hips back, that was really nice from all of them. All of them are showcasing really well. Nice nuances moments. I don't know how we feel about the swim trunks. Personally, it's either it looks like it's attached or sewn together. Is this a great look for him? we'll let the netizens decide that. For me personally, I would not wear this outfit, but also K-pop idols can get away with some very interesting aesthetics. I will also say, look how, I mean, all this, honestly, a lot of them are pretty modestly dressed as well. So just notice here with the accents of the head, so they were really moving, traveling forward. Notice that their bodies are not really bouncing, but they're accenting with the heads here. And then you have your accent person over here, everybody else hanging out over here. I really like that, and they're transitioning over. It's super fun. Yeah, also too, whenever you see him do a Charleston, my dancer in the far right, he did a really good job, and that's kind of something that you see as a fingerprint throughout the entire routine, which I really like. Also notice that just that last little bit, they did kind of it's like a hold before they went. Yeah, and then you still have my dancer over here in the white. He used his hand to signal for them to go this way, which was really nice. It's subtle, but it's effective, which is good. Brings my dancer that was just featured back in. So this was a really nice add-on. So when I'm talking about an add-on, it's that you start with one, and then you have it either fans out, like what we're seeing here. So we started with one, and then we have there two, and then I'm assuming these guys are my three, right? So normally either pans out that way, or you can start from one person and then it adds on in a particular direction, or you can start from the outside and work your way in. So you kind of have a couple of different choices. So it looks like they did my three, and then everybody joined in. I love that. So this beginning was really sharp, just noticing how they were using their core to create a lot of those moments and their shoulder utilization. So I will say something that I love about the choreography, so shout out to the choreographer, but also them, is the fact that they're able to switch out their textures really well. So when I talk about textures, I'm talking about movement context. How does something feel with the eyes, right? So just like when you eat an orange, it tastes different, or it feels different than whenever you eat an apple. Even though they taste different, they feel different too. So you want to have these textures or these different sound bits, just like we've heard the SM sound, where they switch up the tempos, not really the BPMs as much, but they switch up the timbre that's introduced, or the layering that's introduced. And timbre is sound context, so it's how something sounds, and then tonal color is how an instrument sounds and how they're different from each other. So we're not really going to get into that, but keeping it very broad, it's just really nice to see that they are doing a fabulous job, that I've said from the get-go, of changing up how they choose to go about each groove. Now, do I think that they went a bit subtle for some of them? Yes, but are we going to chalk it up to it's their debut stage, they're already two songs in, and they're really trying to conserve energy and maintain the vocal presence? Sure. So that's like, sometimes you got to make those concessions, and everybody committed to doing that, not just one person, so they made those choices. So I really like there's just the usage of the body for everybody, which is really nice, and also notice there with all of my dancers, they're really hitting, utilizing the torso through a lot of these movements. Yeah, great musicality moment. Nice hinge here. It's simple, effective, and it conserves energy. I love those choices. This chorus was so nice. Okay, ready? I feel like this butterfly move, so like I've also noticed too, so the butterfly move, I'm talking about the footwork that's happening here with all of my guys. They do that in the second chorus, just in a different formation, but then they also integrate it at the beginning of their dance break, which I really like. That I feel like we've seen that on TikTok a lot. We've seen that on anything viral. We've seen it, I think they've done this kind of movement before in their performance video that Josh Price choreographed. I don't know who choreographed this, shout out to them, I really love it. And it's just a really popular move, but it's still effective. Notice that they're integrating the guitar, the guitar is the upper body, and they're kind of holding it, but they keep integrating how they choose to execute it. And I love that on a choreographic stage. That can get really stale when the song's about a guitar and you want to talk about a guitar. It gets stale fast if you can't figure out different ways to integrate it outside of formation and layers. So I think it's great. Yeah, it's just a lot of pocket moments of breathing. So whenever you see somebody have tension and then they melt out of it, that's a breathable moment, but it still maintains tension. And that's how, because they have tension in their body, so there is energy being used, but not near as much as jumping and those kind of more upbeat kind of grooves. Like even there, whenever you scuff, it's still energy that you have to kind of recalibrate anytime you leave the ground. I love that there, the little dragon. That was a very slight, I think only one of my guys did it. I think my guy right here, he did kind of that James Brown with the foot. So let's just take a look there real quick. I think that's what he did. So watch. Let's see if he does. He did! Yeah, so he actually did a heel toe here, and then he slid in this foot, but he's really the only one that did that, but it called for it, and he's about to be featured next. That was really cute with this little bit right there. It was super cute. I will say, be mindful of the position. So just notice that even though we are at an angle here, there's no excuse. Everybody, we should be able to see pretty much everybody's angle the same, right? So just like we're seeing the common denominator here, his is a little too over curved. His is a little too, yeah, it's like chilling like right there, right? Really got to focus on getting the angle that you want. So that's just my little note there on cleanliness when you do anything new. So he's doing just a 1. I love that D with the heel. That was such a nice moment. That was like that swish, da 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 da. Like, I love moments like that. These are so fun. And they're still integrating that slight little knock on the end of the chorus. So fun.
If you want something to cut, we'll
So get a guitar. So, and then also notice that they're still bleeding, and that's another bleeding through a movement, through the phrases, which I really like with this group in general, is that they're just, I think SM made a really good call on the choreographer. You know, also, you know, their formation looks great here. I mean, I will say, let's just take a little look. I think our dancer over here, he's a little too far back, and here's how I can measure it, because you look at the distance between this. Whoa, that's an awful line. Forgive me for that. It's going to disappear in a second. So just notice that there's a line that exists on the floor, and seeing the distance of the shoe to the line is going to determine whether or not somebody is in line with somebody else. So these two are mirrors. These two should be mirrors, and these two should be mirrors, and then we have our center right here, right? So notice that my dancer right here, he's a little too far back, and he's a little too far forward, and it's not an angle thing. It's really not, because you notice even here, like, there's enough forgiveness here to kind of equate to this kind of essence. But also note too that it's, the lines play a huge role. I think he's chilling near the back when he really should be more in the mid of the line, just like he's more in the mid. I think he's a little too far forward. So I just feel like they could have just cleaned that up a little bit better. But also whenever you're, I don't know if they had practice on the stage or not. Y'all let me know. I love that, how they chose to have my two in the middle row, and then my outsiders go second. That's just such a nice way to get into a different formation, which I love. Yeah, so the reason why it looks very complex is, like I've already mentioned, the texture shifts happen about every 8 count, which I love, but they're not unnecessary. Nice little bounces. That was nice. They went a kick, switch. That was really cool from everybody. Yeah, so I will say my dancer right here, I have a feeling I've talked about him before. I hope that, yeah, my guy right here, he's holding it down mighty fine, but he's not using his groove as much as he should. I think this was one of the first instances where I wish that whoever's here, they would pop off a little bit more, because you've eliminated numbers, so you should lift the energy to compensate for that. So that's just my little note for these two here, especially my dancer in white. Yeah, he's not using his torso at all. You know what I mean? In comparison to my dancer in the red jacket. So, and even though you're singing, you still gotta factor that in. You can still use the torso, because they were using the torso totally fine in the beginning. Now with all my guys here, my dancer with the star, he's not really utilizing his chest as much, like I said, because he's singing. Everybody else is overcompensating for that. These guys are joining back in. Heart, they use the hinge again to hold that heart. Now, do I wish that they did it a little different? I mean, they kind of did. Instead of being set in second position and going around, they're keeping it together and doing, it's like smaller, and it matches, honestly, his tone, which I really like that choice. That was fun. So notice that he exploded from the back, and he knocked these people down first, these guys on the other end, but notice the position. It looks like it's not a lock, but sometimes when you see somebody in a locking position, because of the funky guitar we saw in the earlier stages, that's why I'm associating some of these postures more in locking than in other genres. Now, are they doing locking? No, honestly not. But I do think that some of these positions are inspired by that style. So please go, be curious about that. It's so cool. It's super, rest in peace on Campbellock. He was the one who created the style. It's definitely one of the core street styles that you see in this day and age for sure, especially in Asia. I love that the accent is up versus down. A lot of times you see people accent the movement down, but it's up, boom, boom, boom. And it's just slightly different than how you normally see it. And that's what I've noticed with this crew in general, is a lot of these moves, they just twisted it. Like they did like a 45-degree shift versus an entire 180 in Inception. Like, it's still tasteful. I can recognize the move easy, but it's still very nice and innovative to match them. Like, it feels really good. Now, I love that he went around and everybody complimented that, and he went around and went boom, and he ended up doing like a kind of a ticking, like a ticking woe. Oh, that, so fun. That's another example of what I mean. That was like a 50-degree shift in something different. They hinge again. Now I will say, are they doing a little too many hinges? Possibly. I feel like they could have interpreted the holds of whenever they're holding notes. They could do it a little different. Maybe go forward instead of all backwards. But, you know, they're trying to keep it pretty open. This is just a safety thing for me. Whenever you see dancers, I'm going to see if I can pause it. Baby. So I want you to notice something here with my dancer right here in our wonderful trunks. He actually had his feet turned out whenever he was going back in the hinge. And I want us to just take a note of this real quick. This can potentially cause injury if you're not careful. So what we teach whenever you do hinges is you want to make sure the knees follow the track of the toes. So notice where the gravity is pulling on his knees, and I think he's doing it a little bit too. It's pulling down. And what happens is whenever you do that, your feet need to also be facing the same direction of where the energy is going. So he's a really prime example. Yeah, he can get low, but he's pulling so much energy. So this side of his knee could potentially become a problem in the future if he's not careful. Especially with idols, they get very fatigued over an extended period of time because of their schedules. Especially the more popular they are, the busier their schedule is. That's just kind of what they've signed up for, you know, and that's the kind of company they're under. So I would just kind of observe a sense of caution for my dancer right here, that he needs to be very mindful of his knees, to just make sure that his feet compensate appropriately in the direction in which you do that. And that's also for my dancers learning the choreography too. Please be careful, mindful of your knees. We want you to be able to do this for a long time. I think about you in the future, not just how you are now. I love that moment where he goes with that pull. That was nice dance break. So notice the variation. He crossed in front and then he crossed behind. That was super fun. Woo! He did a front. I didn't even catch it the first time. He did a front pike heel click in the front. That was super cool. The height on that was insane. Yeah, and he goes, that was super cool. Yeah, so they go, so they're having this boy group slide R&B aesthetic, but it's not. It's more like a boy crush, you know? They're really using, so notice he's using his hands and he's so my dancer in center is using his hands and they're accenting with their head. So I'm going to go back and we're going to see that real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. I really love this choreography. Just watch right there. Yeah, so I don't know if they were all supposed to do the same thing. That's just how it came across. They went doom, doom. It was just really cool. Anyway, that was a cool moment. They're just having little moments where their whole time are grooving it out. Love it. But they're all keeping essence and then they are in their formation. I would say my dancer in the red jacket, he's a little too far in. I would keep him in line right there. They seem to be in line, no problem. This one is definitely much more mirrored compared to what the previous one that I mentioned was. Super fun. That was very Michael Jackson influenced too, and I'm assuming this jacket right here reminds me of Thriller. So I wonder if they're going with that boy crush Michael Jackson old school funk style, which I really like. Here, it matches the guitar. I mean, guitars. Woo! I love that. I wish they used their head a little bit more whenever you have that kind of motion. You want to just really nuance it. It doesn't take a lot of energy to do. I wish they did that more. I would say my back two could have done a little bit more here, especially my two back here. Everybody else went slide, boom, slide, but these two back here, they really didn't slide as much as they should have, or at least given off the essence like everybody else, transitioning really big. There we go. Yep, I don't know what this formation is right here, because the only reason why I say that is because we have our dancers looking pretty nice. I feel like he's supposed to be mirroring him, so he should push up a little bit more, unless there's something that they're setting up for, which I don't believe they are. Yeah, I just think he's set up a little too far back, just for that. Now I love this choice here where you have your two groups that are facing each other, and then we have my three here doing choreo to the front and they're facing each other, which is really fun. So you're actually projecting and using the full stage without having to have everybody, you know, face. I mean, not everybody's technically facing all different ways, but it really feels like they're using their whole stage. This is really good. This would be really good if they're in an arena. This is a really good song, like choreo moment for that, where anybody can get a really good angle. And then they did a little shuffle there, right there into this formation. I love that. I call this a W formation because they make a W. I love that. Those are always really fun whenever you have an odd number. And it makes it different than a V. Here we go. Okay, this was my note that I said before. I really wish my three dancers here were lower, just so we could see what these guys back here were doing. Especially, like, I feel like they could have at least, like, really dropped it. But that's really the least of your concerns that you're thinking about whenever you're doing this. That That was sick. Do-do-do-do-do. So that it wasn't just a body roll, it was a do-do-do-do-do. So it was a separated, syncopated sound. And so they actually ended up going do-do-do-do-do, like they not strobe, it was just an isolated body roll, and those are harder to do, and that was really impressive there to see. Goodness, I love that moment. I love that so much. And there's a chance that this looks better from the front, but from the angle I do feel like it covers up people, but I know based on the angle it's an M formation, which means there's no one that is covered up, right? So that probably looks really, really good from the front. From the side, however, I do wish they just were a little bit lower to compensate for that. And I think it would look really nice. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, so it was fun that he was using his hand and they all were using their torsos to complement that hand, which was super fun. Love that. Yeah, so they actually did an add-on for the chorus. So the chorus, the first chorus, you had everybody do all of this into that part, right? This time you had one person and the add-on went to 3 to hit that note. So that was really nice, utilizing the same choreography, but approaching it in a different dynamic, which I love. Get a guitar. And notice too that my dancer right here is really utilizing his chest and his nose, not because he's wearing a hoodie. Everybody is kind of, I mean, he's not really wearing as much fabric as most of the others, and he's not either. You could tell just because they're layers, but all of my dancers here and here, so at least 5 of them, are doing, I mean, it looks pretty nice. Yeah, and notice there too that what they did is instead of doing that butterfly move, they varied it and kind of put on like a heel toe variation. Yeah, it was like a toe tap with a heel toe. I love that moment a lot, and it is subtly different than the groove. So it did pay ode to the type of variations that they've already done, but it looks really nice here because it kind of introduces this dance break, or like the ending more, not really dance break. And everyone gets to do kind of their own thing. They finish with the digs just like that. I really wish they pushed those hips a little bit more forward. That was funny seeing those two just kind of jump and make contact, and then they finish and they're like ending fairy is what would happen there. And I know for Gen 4 they don't really like mess with the ending fairy, they're like very serious, but Gen 2 goes wild. I love watching those. Man, all in all, this was really enjoyable. I really liked watching them for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful in some way. I feel out of all of the K-pop groups that I've reacted to in this series of Just Reacts, I feel that I've been a part of RIIZE's the most authentically from inception, like from debut, pre-debut to now. So I'm really gonna try to work hard to kind of follow this group in particular's journey, since I feel like I caught them right at their very beginning. Now granted, I have been a part of other debuts from other K-pop groups. I'm just mostly talking about as a reactor, just in real-time reactions. I feel like I really want to do my best to kind of analyze and really see their journey, because I think I'm in a really cool opportunity to do that in this context. So, but yeah, thank you guys again, and I will check you on the flip side. Bye.